Get about 10 reps where you're just going to push your hips forward.
All right, all right. We are doing
it.
leg day, and I gave some blood this morning to make sure baby's all good. So I might not be
He's not going to go as hard
super
today.
intense, but I'll be here.
We'll pick it up for her. We'll have all the fitness Cammy needs just in what we're doing.
I'm gonna try to.
So after you get 10, I want you to bring your arms up overhead, and now you're just going to lean towards the opposite side.
Just like that. Just make it sexy. Did you guys like Dave's new haircut?
So Cammy did it.
I did that, and it was very stressful.
Stressful for you, not stressful for me. Sorry, Cam.
That's not true, okay? Because you would lose your mind if it didn't look good.
So now what I want you to do is put your hand on top of your foot that's on the ground. You're going to post up on your back leg, so straighten out your back leg, and just get some circles with that front hip. 10 to the right, 10 to the left. Other way.
It's sexy.
Ooh,
More sexy, David.
so sexy. Yeah, now you're going to drop your form, nice and low to your instep. Push down to that hand on the ground and rotate up. 10 reps here.
So I've started to make that whipped coffee thing with decaf for me.
Oh boy.
That thing is amazing. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but it's like instant coffee, and then you like whip it. It's unbelievable. You guys should try this out.
Okay. Now, go into a child's pose where you're just going to sink your hips back and sit in your hips.
So child's pose, I just learned because I'm doing some pelvic stuff for the baby. And for pregnant women, when you do the child's pose and you really breathe deep, you should feel your pelvic floor open and come back up, and that's how you stretch it.
It's called a reverse. Is that how you're supposed to give birth, like that?
Well, no, but because I'm doing like pelvic floor exercise,
Gotcha.
and if it gets too tight, it'll be really hard to give birth, so you have to stretch it too.
All right, you got to stretch it
But
out.
because it's like in your bone, because it's in your pelvic, like the only way to stretch it is like with like deep breathing
Say
in certain positions.
Say pelvis in French.
Pelvis?
Pelvis quoi?
No, it's pelvis.
Pelvis. Pelvis.
I'm pretty sure it is. Sometimes I don't remember what's French or not.
Arms up.
Because a lot of the words are very similar. I don't like this leg. It's really weak.
You got to make that towel nice and thick so it doesn't bang on your patella.
Like this?
Yep, that's it. Okay, now anchor that foot down. You got mine. My hands up. There's 10 circles to the right, 10 to the left. This is tighter.
Ooh, I need to plug my phone. I can go grab the charger because my phone's almost out of battery.
Form the instep, and now pressing down onto that opposite arm. Rotate up.
The dogs are looking at us. Ow.
4, 5.
I need to charge you guys. I need to charge you.
8, 2 more.
Otherwise.
Okay. All right, now go back to that child's pose. So you just sink back down. Cool.
Nope.
That wasn't so bad. Okay, so what you're going to do from here now is we're going to go on the ground on our back, and I'm going to tilt you guys down so you can see real good.
Okay.
So for this one, just going to be on the back. This is really basic stuff you may have done before. Just some kind of very simple hamstring and hip stretching.
/ every time we do leg day with Dave.
Every time we do leg day, we keep our process the same. My internet keeps getting really bad, so let me see. I don't know. I wonder if that would be any better.
Can we switch side for this?
Sure. But why don't you come right here?
Yeah.
Okay. knee hug's on your back. Yeah. So when you do the knee hug, what I want you to do is lift your knee and then give a little tug at the top of the movement.
And if you're really flexible, pull your knee to the side so
Can you
you can
see me on the
stretch a
screen?
little bit more.
Can you see me on the screen?
Yeah, I can see you on the screen.
Okay.
And we're doing 10.
6, 8, 9, 10. Count. Simple, just hold.
All right, I'm just gonna
Breathe out. Wiggle your hip around a little. Feel in there. Okay, now you're gonna bend your leg on the floor, put your heel on top of your knee. You're gonna press your knee down away from you. 10 reps.
Open.
Okay.
I love you.
8, 9, 10. Now grab behind your hamstring and pull, just like you're doing the knee hug. Try to keep that hamstring.
My butt is a little sore.
Oh yeah. And you can go with the technique across your body now for a couple reps and get some internal hip rotation.
So big news, everyone! Tomorrow we're gonna know the sex of the baby.
Sex of the baby's coming.
And we're so excited. So place your bet. If you think it's going to be a boy or a girl. I literally have everyone telling me how they're sure it's going to be a boy or a girl. So far it's pretty 50-50.
Oh boy.
What?
Is it old? Yeah, I hope I'd be happy with either one.
I just want healthy.
I think it's a girl.
We both think it's a girl.
And I hope it's just like Camille. Okay, now. Side.
I don't think you can handle a younger version of me. Little Cammy was intense.
You are intense.
I'm still intense, but I'm like a diluted version of how intense I used to be. Maybe I just hide it better.
Knee across.
You're intense too, though.
Oh, I'm very intense. I'm probably more intense than Camille.
Yeah,
To be
you
honest with
are.
you. Like,
I'm so much more chill than you.
Camille is externally intense, but I am extremely internally. There are fires raging in my head. Okay, so let me show them this one, Cam, so that you don't get hit or anything. So for this one, you're just gonna do some crossovers. I'll do some, and then Cam will do some, just so you have enough space. So pretty simple, right? Your arms are gonna go out of your sides. You're gonna bring your opposite foot to your opposite arm.
This is like our favorite thing to do, both me and Dave, especially just for back maintenance. I don't know why most people don't do this, but like to open up your back and make sure you can feel everything right. We both love doing this.
What Kim
Or
gets
you
most
like
of-
feel everything that's tight when you do this, and then you can like assess or like work on that.
pre-workout. Oh, this isn't good.
My pre-workout is my hormones from the baby,
Hormone pre-workout.
which most likely just makes me puke. I haven't puked in a while.
Way to go,
Which is
Cam.
awesome.
Wow. And that's pretty good news.
I know. I mean, I still get really nauseous, but at least I don't puke. So
Yeah.
that's like awesome.
Okay, so now we're gonna do some press ups for the back. This is a really great exercise if you sit a lot during the day, or if you have any kind of persistent back
then I'll
discomfort.
explain to them how to do it.
Cammy's not gonna do it because it's on your belly, but it's
Yeah,
pretty
so
simple.
for pregnant women at home, like you want to do stuff for your core, but you don't want to really stretch it. Especially, I'm getting around 5 months and my abs are starting to want to separate, so you don't want extra stretch and ripping. So here, what Dave's going to do is going to put his hand around his side, and what he really is going to work on is to keep his hips as much on the floor as he can, and then press up. By doing that, most of the blood is going to go in his lower back. So it's very important that you push your hips down to the floor so it can stretch your abdominal, and then it's really pumping blood in your lower back. If you're letting your hips come up too high, we're not reaching that like arc in the back that we're looking for, and you might not be pumping as much blood in your lower back as you can. So it's very important that you push to to keep your hips down, and you should feel the top of your abdominal stretching. And this plus the crossover, if you're someone who have issue with your back, those two exercises is something that me and Dave have implemented like years ago in our workout regime, and it's been amazing help for our back. And if you see Dave right now is just doing heads up and down, and that just really good to like help flush your nerve that goes in your back. So add on to that. So crossover, press up, hold, and then just movement at the head is really going to help out, hopefully with your lower back. Now, if you have like big injury and things like that, that's another thing, but those are good like prevention measure to take.
Okay, last thing, we're just gonna do a piriformis stretch. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna place your foot or your leg in front of your body in an L or 90 degrees.
Little pigeon stretch.
And you're gonna bring your chest over your knee. So back, we'll go with the back leg is to try to get the back leg straight and keep the knee on the ground. You can kind of twist and then sink into it.
I feel like I'm peeing machine today.
You are a peeing machine.
So when you do this stretch, guys, the pigeon stretch, you can like bend your legs a lot, keep it at 90, and just move around, and you'll just find a new space to stretch it. So no stretcher like set in stone. You just have to like move a little in it so you can really figure out like which position is the one that's going to give you the most bang for your buck. I used to say bank for your buck, and that made no sense.
That's not how it goes. Bang for your buck.
It was like you get a lot of buck and you get a bang. You don't get the opposite.
Yeah, you got it. Okay. All right,
that
cool.
made no sense.
All right, so first thing we're going to do is going to be a hamstring and glute. We call it like a pre-fatigue because we're going to make you tired before we make you do a lot of squats. So the complex is going to be like this. I'll have Cammy show it to you.
Yeah, I'm going to do this today in hamstring though.
So we're going to do a banded hamstring curl for 30 reps. You can do this lying, but we're going to do it seated too. That's another good option. So Cam's just going to sit on the bench. She's going to put this band, and I've just got a medium tension thunder band here, behind her ankles. And she'll sit on the bench and perform 30 hamstring curls as she curls her heel to her butt. So she's seated, there's some good tension, and she's going to pull her heels towards her butt for 30 reps. After she's done 30, she's going to stand up and she'll grab some dumbbells, and we'll just emulate with her standing. She's going to do 3 different position RDLs. So the first position is going to be with her heels together and her toes pointed out. Okay, so it's like a duck-footed position. And she's going to do an RDL here. And if you look at her, can you go to the side? You look at her do the RDL, notice how she's only just hinging at the hip. She's only going as low as she can go while keeping her back straight. And as you do these, I don't want you to stand up all the way. So as you do them, just come a little bit short of lockout to keep the tension on your hamstring. Okay, so 12 with the heels touching.
10.
Then so this week is 12.
Okay.
And now the next stance is going to be a regular stance. So she's going to bring shoulder width apart with her feet. Okay. And she's going to perform 12 there. And then the final stance is going to be 12 in a wide sumo stance with her toes out. So that's the superset right there. Okay. Cool. You want to go first?
I need to pee.
All right. She needs to pee, so I'll get it
go
going.
first.
I'm just going to belt up. Anything I do with the hinges, I usually like to kind of throw a belt on. And yeah, this is a good one. You're really going to feel it in your glutes as you do this. The glutes. Turn on your glutes. So, because I'm a little taller than Cammy, I got to move my bench a bit farther away to get enough tension on the hamstring curl. And I'll show you here, just as I go. You guys watch me go. I'm gonna put my heels through. I actually like to use. You can see that I've got like my knee sleeves around towards my ankles because it keeps that band from like giving you abrasions. And you're just gonna get 30 here. 30. Now I'm going to grab my dumbbells for these RDLs. So I'll start with a decent little weight here. Nice and tight. I'll show you the 3 different positions as I move through them. So, first one, heels touching, toes out. You can start going. Or you want to wait for me?
Well, I thought that was your rest.
4.
So if you guys can see at home, like Dave's toes are almost off the ground, which is totally fine. It's just really trying to get in his hamstring and butt. So if your weight is on your toes, just know that you're getting more of your quad in it. And the more back you are, the more you're getting into your posterior chain. Make sure you're balanced though. Make sure you don't fall back. You're gonna move against it then. We need a whiteboard so we can write down what we're doing.
Oh! Holy shnikes. Okay.
My turn.
Whew. Oh, hamstrings are lit up after that first set already.
David, you put that back, right?
Yep, a little bit. Still breathing heavy. Starting to feel it?
Oh yeah.
Okay. You can just grab, even if you want like maybe 20s.
Yeah, I'll do 20 today because I just gave blood, so
You just need blood.
it's not that me pass out.
Candy.
That would be
I'll be
awful.
passing out here. Regular stance there.
Yep.
And then the last one's going to be sumo. And I think some people sometimes think that like not standing up all the way is somehow cheating. It actually makes it a lot harder because
Yeah, because you
the
stay under
hamstring is
tension.
constantly under tension. So, you know, when you're locking your joints out, then the bones actually end up lining up to create a good support to hold the weight, as opposed to the muscle having to work as hard to just move and support it. So that's such a little strategy for training effect. Obviously, this isn't like a movement standard if you're judging yourself on that. I've never seen somebody like do an RDL in a competition or anything like that. But yeah, it's just the difference between, you know, what you might see in, say, something like the CrossFit realm where they just want to measure the work. Here, what we're doing is we're reducing the range of motion, but actually challenging specific muscles a little bit more by doing it. And you'll see that too in the squat. Today, we're going to do half reps in the squat from different ranges of motion. And you'll notice that certain ranges may be more challenging for you because you have to stay in them as opposed to just ripping out full reps.
It's kind of really good to do that stuff because something you see like in CrossFit is people will do deadlift and they won't really control any in-between portion. They'll just like go back down, try to bang the weight as hard as they can to get that rebound.
They're banging?
Yeah.
Banging the weight.
Clanging bang.
Clanging and banging?
And same thing with the squat. A lot of people just like pause at the top, get their bone lined up, and then just try to get the bounce and back up. But when you do that, you're never really working your muscle in those like, you know, little portion of the lift to really, first of all, not only keep your joints strong and healthy, but gain a lot of strength in a lot of different ways. So yeah, partial range of motion are amazing to build strength at different point of your movement, and also super safe, which is awesome. I like wish I knew more about like isometric, part range of motion, and a lot of time under tension. I guess the more at the beginning of my career.
Yeah, we could have built you a little stronger.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, here we go. So, first one, toes out. This is actually working the outer aspect of your hamstrings.
And just this, doing like deadlift with like different foot position, it's just amazing to work just different portion of the same muscle. So it'll target like a place a little bit differently in the muscle. And again, the stronger, more complete your muscle is, the stronger you are.
Yeah, nice and wide. This one's one of the hardest ones for me.
Really?
Oh,
I like that one because it gets in my butt.
So pre-fatigued. Hold on.
Okay.
Woo! I got hard. My hamstrings are getting lit. Bring it like all the way out. There you go. Oh. Oh, I'm breathing heavy. I am breathing heavy.
This is the story of your life, though.
And people ask, Dave, what do you do? What do you do for cardio? Like, you're looking at it. So this is toes out. Really just targeting the outer part, like standing like duck-footed with your heels together. And you'll feel this on the outside of your hamstring. This regular kind of traditional hip width stance puts the load pretty even across all those different aspects of the hamstring. And then when Camille goes wide, what she's going to do is get into the inner, or the medial head of the hamstring on the inside of the thigh a little bit more. So all valuable. Also cool for like developing active range of motion in these different positions. Starting to feel it?
Yep.
And that's, you know, guys, just keep in mind, this is with a 20-pound weight. She's really feeling it. So that's the cool thing about this is it doesn't need to be heavy to be effective. And one thing you can do to get a little extra rest between your sets is continue to talk because that's very effective.
That's your strategy.
Pre-workout. Oh, thank goodness pre-workout.
You know Dave gets tired when he all of a sudden really start explaining the movement.
Yeah, that's an interesting talking point there, Cam. Yeah, it's funny you bring that up.
I'm not allowed to go so hard that I can't talk, so kind of always ready right now.
Cam's not allowed to go so hard, but I go so hard. What's the hardest you've ever seen me go, Cam? Probably something on a leg press.
Well, bodybuilding or
Yeah.
like our whole life together?
Bodybuilding.
I think that time we were doing drop set on the squat with Max.
Yep.
And Max fell like 5 times and he went to puke. And then you went to failure too.
And then I went to puke.
And I was just yelling with my eyes closed.
It was a conga line to puke outside.
Yeah.
That's
Right? So that was one of the times I was
I
like,
can't tell you this. I mean, I thought I puked a lot doing CrossFit. It was like pretty much every single leg day for like a month.
yeah, but you eat so much. You've been eating so much more doing bodybuilding, and I think that's the trigger for you in puking.
Used to call Cam from the parking lot of the gym, be like, I can't stop throwing up. I can't come home. I'm sorry, I'm gonna be late. I can't stop throwing up.
Yeah, but you used to do that a lot too when we were new together in CrossFit. And Dane, you used to drink a lot of whey, which is what you started to do again. Dave is lactose intolerant, and he doesn't want to accept it. So he still always drink like protein before training, and that's when he pukes. What's the hardest you've ever seen me go? A lot.
Oh.
I think that time with Danny Horan was at the track was one big one.
Yeah, there's a lot of dry heaving in that one. Okay, you're up. Last one for Cam.
That's what I do though. I don't really puke. I just get
So this is 30 banded hamstring curls into 3-position RDLs as a hamstring pre-fatigue today for muscle anarchy leg day. We're doing the dumbbell anarchy version because we don't have all the equipment, just like you guys, a lot of you at home. So I thought that would be cool to be able to speak the same vernacular and do the same workouts. Cammy's getting her booty blast on. She incorporates a lot of this stuff that we do into.
We do this specific like 30 in Feroz a lot.
She's good. You know, good coaches are good thieves. And I don't say that in a bad way because I'll do that all the time.
Stuff all the time.
Yeah, I'll do that all the time where I'll be like.
Literally half of the get shredded stuff is my stuff.
Yeah, we'll do that all the time where we'll find a complex or an exercise or a theory and you see it's effective and you just want to give it to your athletes or try it yourself.
I'm like the nutrition person in our house.
Yeah. So you pay attention and you learn and you steal. And when I say steal, I don't mean like say that it's your own, but steal it and go like, hey, I got this awesome complex from Dave.
I've never seen you into my program. Stuff for me.
Oh yeah, well most of the stuff that I do, a lot of it I tag my trainer Wadi in because it's inspired by him. So we'll do something on machines and I'll adapt it to say dumbbells or barbells and not just show him how to adapt it, but you know, give him a little credit. And no one really invented any of this stuff, to be honest.
No.
It just gets passed along and hopefully it gets better. You know, as people refine it and do it with more athletes, they come up with more derivatives of it.
I always think it's funny when people, you know, you'll do something, we'll do something, we're like, oh my God, I discovered something, and
no one really discovers anything.
No one discovered anything, or someone will be like, I did this first. It's like, okay.
Yeah, like take CrossFit for instance. CrossFit, that's a great example.
We squat since we're born. No one invented the squat.
Greg Glassman did not invent Olympic lifting or gymnastics or cardio. He didn't invent high intensity training. He just kind of packaged it and branded it in a different way. But this stuff had been used by fighters for a really long time. It's been used by military training and operators for a long time. It's just kind of being presented in a different type of way. It's kind of like a spin-off almost. And that's what a lot of this stuff is. You know, the bodybuilding functional fitness hybrid is a spin-off of some of these different communities where you just evolve and learn more and make it a little different.
Yeah, it's like the more you learn from all those different areas, like both of our program is like a mashup of all the best stuff that we've learned so far, and it's going to keep evolving and changing as we learn more. But
everything's got utility. It's just, you know, how to contextually apply it the best.
We did not invent anything.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is some goblet squats. The first set is going to be a nice and smooth set. So what you're going to do is 15 reps. You can hold the goblet on the top of your chest. You're going to go 15 reps just down and up, just getting yourself nice and loose for those 15. So go ahead and grab, I'd say probably like a moderate weight. We're going to do this first set. Cam, do you want to do set one? You want to come go after me? How you feeling?
I'll go after you.
Okay, that's me. So I'll just throw my knees on here, and I'm going to do my first set. And this is, when I say smooth, you can kind of think of smooth as like being 2 seconds down and 2 seconds up. We're just really trying to feel the muscle work. It's another good way to kind of describe what smooth means.
When you do those guys at home, really try to make sure your core is braced. I think often when people like get in squat, they kind of leave their core a little loose, and they just try to get the bounce at the bottom. So really focus on keeping like your abdominal contracted and your chest upright. That's how you develop that strong musculature around your spine. But it should kind of always be your focus, so you stay all healthy and stuff.
I like healthy. Healthy's fun.
So you don't have to wear a belt for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you know, and God forbid you end up like me. Hopefully, I learned some hard lessons, and it's been a blessing in disguise because not only has it helped me learn how to train myself, but a lot of other people that have the same stuff going on.
Loosey goosey. Don't be loosey goosey. This is a great time to just really focus on your technique. And the beauty with the goblet squat is that you have a counterbalance with the weight. So you should use that counterbalance to really focus on being on your heel and keeping your chest super upright. That's going to help you develop the right position. So if your hips are tight or you're not there yet with your upright chest, this is a great way to work on those positions.
It's also a little bit of an upper body pump because you got to hold the weight.
That's right.
Woo! Go 35, champ. Pretty good there. A good trainer lets the athlete know what they can do and what they can't do. It's one thing my trainer Wadi.
A good athlete sometimes does not listen to their coach.
My trainer Wadi said something to me that gave me a lot of confidence. He told me, I'm never going to ask you to do something that I don't think you can do or something that I don't think you're ready for. So it's good to have that outside perspective, especially a coach that knows your ability level, to be able to challenge you and keep you safe.
Yeah.
And he's never done that. I've never done something with Wadi where it was so heavy or so hard that it was dangerous. Well, I take that back.
I was there.
We pushed it sometimes, but it was a really good yes. It was a really good yes.
I think a good coach is the one that's in it. Push you a little outside your comfort zone every time, but doesn't have such an ego.
There was one time where he told me, you're going to do, it was a free fatigue, so you're going to do 20 heavy flies, and then go on the incline bench and do 15 reps of 315 incline in different ranges of motion. And I'm like, that's pretty aggressive. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, but it took him a while to get to know you.
Yeah, that's one of the things.
So I trained with Wadi too, and the big thing that he's not used is that me and Dave, when we suffer,
he goes easier on Camille and a little harder on me.
that's not true.
Yeah, he does, because he's always afraid to give you a little too much.
Well, because here's the thing.
Okay, so guys.
We have no facial expression, so he doesn't know.
Yeah, that's the thing about getting good at dissociating from pain is people can't really tell how hard it is for you.
So I'm going to go until I die, so he's scared to give me.
Okay, so here's what this is, okay? These are very slow reps. It's going to be 12 reps with a 3 count down. So 1, 2, 3 on the way down, 1, 2, 3 on the way up, okay? So nice and slow. Go slow and challenge that tempo. And you know what? If 12 is easy for you, based on the weight you have, just keep going until you get nice and slow. Keep that no slower than 3, or no faster than 3 seconds down and 3 seconds up. Okay, so Cam, who is really bad at counting because she likes to change time signatures like the group tool, she's going to count.
I just have to breathe as I count. That's what I've noticed.
Or you can use a word like if you use Mississippi, like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi.
Last time we did that with you, you got mad because it was still too long.
Because you went 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Okay.
All I hear is
I think somebody got angry. Here we go. 12 reps, nice and slow. Okay. Now, nice and slow, go down.
2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3,
was set number 2. Cam's gonna do the same thing. She can probably stick with 35, yeah.
Elvis is watching us with her.
Dogs are watching. So now what we're doing is we're mixing some tempos in. The next set, we're going to start playing with different ranges of motion. So, Cam, you ready?
Yeah.
Ooh. Ready. 2, 3, little something. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3, 10, 11, 12. Good. So one of the more challenging things with the tempo, I find, is not necessarily the way down. I think it's pretty easy to kind of control that tempo on the way down. I think actually the concentric, where you're winning the fight, is where it gets really hard. That's where my muscles start to tremble, or I want to speed through those positions, because you're really doing a slow contraction under load. And that's pretty challenging. Okay, so next one we're going to get kind of silly. Okay, so get ready. This one's going to be a little bit NARS. And we're going to do some partial reps. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 10 half reps from the top. So a half rep from the top is going to be from lockout to about halfway down. Okay, so 10 from the top. Then we're going to go to the bottom of the squat. And we're going to go 10 half reps from the bottom to halfway up. And then we're going to finish with 10 full reps. Okay, so 10 tops, 10 bottoms, 10 full.
Keep it pretty.
Keep it pretty.
Keep it pretty.
Keep it smooth.
Because this is where the chest, this is where the chest starts falling forward. It thing gets ugly when you get tired. So, so big chest up the whole time.
Big chest up the whole time, she says. Let's see how we're rocking on time here too. I think we're right on pace. Perfect. Okay. So, so yeah, we're gonna do these and tops and bottoms and fulls. Get nice and gangstered up here. Woo! I can do this, Cam. Back, check my back every time, just kind of see how it's feeling. Just do like a systems check here.
/ talking, so he gets more rest right now.
Then I like to kind of visualize. I'm okay. I'm gonna
for like 5 minutes.
Rehearse it to tops and bottoms and
Let's
fulls.
go.
Got it?
This is not complicated.
Grab my weight and just kind of give myself maybe a mental cue. Sometimes I'll do a word, like I'll be like, okay, come on, Dave, Excelsior. You know?
Excelsior.
Excelsior.
21 gigawatts.
Here we go. 1.21 gigawatts.
1.21 gigawatts.
Okay, 10 tops, 10 bottoms, 10 fulls. Here we go. Yep. Whoa. Oh yeah. There it is.
Oh boy.
1, 2, 3, 4.
When you do these, really focus on staying on your heels, driving your knees out, and keeping your chest up.
9, 10 bottoms. 1,
Nice.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now fulls. 1,
There you go.
2,
Oh boy.
3,
Baby's getting
4,
hungry.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know, something ridiculous. Yeah, it's not even a word, it's just a sound.
It's just a sound. I don't think people know me the way you know me.
I think that's accurate.
I
think it's really accurate.
All right, here we go. 10, 10, 10. Up bottom, low bottom, full. Now full. 1, 2, good Cammy. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, mama.
Yay! All right, we're crushing. Good job.
That was hard.
That was hard, she says. That's what she said.
Started
That was hard.
watching The Office for like the 5th time.
That's what she said. Okay, so set 4. Gonna get really hard now. So we're gonna do 10, 10 nice and heavy. We're gonna drop the weight about 30%. 10, a little bit lighter. Drop the weight another 30%, and then we're gonna go 20. So the drop sets are 10, 10, 20. Whatever that means.
40 reps total.
Yeah, respectively. You know, if you guys are,
So keep that in
if
mind.
you guys are doing like, let's say you just got like one set of 50-pound dumbbells, that might look like 10 reps with both dumbbells, 10 reps with one dumbbell, and then maybe just air squats to failure.
Yeah.
At the end, if you only have that. We love we have some heavier weights. So.
And if you only have like one dumbbell, just one weight, do 10 with the 3-second down, 3-second up, 10 at full speed with the weight, and then drop to no weight.
I don't want to do that.
Well, you have weight, so you're good.
Yeah.
But that's a very good alternative.
So, hold on, I'll pull these up here. This will be interesting. So, yeah, I think, wait, that's heavy. Okay. All right, so I got my 3 weights. I got a 120, a 95, and a 60. So hopefully, by the time I get to that 60, I'm not totally cashed out. I'm going to chalk my hands so they don't get too slippery.
So let's get 3 more minutes.
3 more minutes of rest.
The weather's so nice today.
It is. It's like not as hot.
I know.
Because normally if I was
We're
doing
not
this,
like dripping right
if I
now.
was doing this workout regularly, I'd be like just so drenched in sweat by this point.
So 10 drop weight, 10 into 20.
10, 10, 20. Woo! That crack here. Feels good. Okay. Systems are a go. Both of them nice and tight. Yep. There she is. 10, 10, 20. Okay.
10, 10, 20. Here we go.
Wait.
Oh gosh. So nice. So when you do these, just go somewhere in your head. This is gonna get tough. Oh boy.
Woo! Zigzag.
Come on. Gotta practice having baby in your arm. So I thought it's gonna be a 95-pound baby. I hope not. I'm gonna be really practicing with that.
Go down.
Nice.
Oh, last one.
Okay.
7.
It's like just the tension through your whole body. Okay, my turn. 10 drop weight, 10 drop weight, 20.
So you get 35-20 air squats.
That is exactly what I'm going to do. But because I want to, not because you said it.
And now, Cammie's just going to rep to failure. So she'll go into air squats. And, you know, even if she gets, just keep going. Don't stop at the top. I want her to just move continuously until it really burns that she can't do anymore. So that might be 20. It might be 30. It might be 40. It might be 50. We'll see. Oh, she's going to measure that. When she feels like the movement's getting close to failure, that's when she'll stop. And I can see it as a coach when it starts slowing down. Okay, Kim?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good call.
Gave
So-
blood today, and now.
No, it's a smart decision on my athletes.
So that's it.
When an athlete makes a decision like that as a coach, it gives you confidence that you don't have to worry about them really doing something they shouldn't be doing. That just shows maturity as an athlete. Okay, cool.
You do have to be careful when you coach a Camille, though.
Yeah. All right, so
A non-pregnant one.
this last thing we're going to do is probably going to be the worst thing you've ever done in your life. Just FYI. And Cam might modify it a little depending on what she's trying to get out of it. So this is going to be 3 sets of 30 banded step-ups.
Oh, okay.
So you can do it with or without the band. The band is obviously harder. It's 30 each leg, then you switch legs. So this is probably going to take us, we're at 51 minutes. It's definitely going to take us at least the rest of the hour to get this done. So I'll go, then Camille will go, and we'll play it like that. We'll kind of see, we might have to axe that last set, and you guys can kind of do it on your own if you want, just so we have time to do a Q&A with everybody. So first set for Dave, the band goes around my shoulders, and then I'm gonna put it underneath the middle of my foot on top of the bench. I'm using the heavy band because it's me. So here we go, 30.
If you want a pretty blaster, this is it. You're gonna do both legs and then I'll go.
Yeah.
Hi, Dave. I can see Dave's like starting to shake, so that's good. Almost there. Seven, 8,
Oh gosh.
and one more.
Oh shit, that's one leg. A second. I told you it was bad. I told you it was really bad.
I don't know. You're always pretty dramatic, so I know.
I'm not dramatic. You're dramatic. I'm not dramatic.
How's this pregnancy been for
It's
you?
been really hard. I put on so much weight. My skin is breaking out. My skin is breaking out and I puked.
Yeah. So at home, if you don't have a band, the harder you squeeze at the top, the more you're gonna get those muscles working. So just think about like a big squeeze at the top and come back down if you can. If your legs are shaking after that, after 10, just close your eyes and finish the set. You don't think about anything. So we're doing 30 each leg. 26. 28. 29. One more.
Oh God.
Oh God.
Oh God.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I can't handle you.
It's so bad. That is so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on now.
Oh.
Good job, Camille.
Oh boy.
That's one leg, right?
Yeah.
You do that one leg and you're like, holy shit. That other leg is gonna be hard.
Like 10 is fine.
10 would be fun, right? Oh, I did 10. 10's not so bad.
It gets real after 10.
30's really hard.
Oh boy.
And when I remember in prep, I built up to being able to finish leg day with 3 sets of 30 of these. And it was really fucking challenging, especially with like a heavy band or a higher box. So scale is needed, obviously. You know, you want to be able to get the 30 unbroken without having to quit. And we'll do 2 sets here, just so we don't torture you guys too much. And then after we're done with these step ups, hang in there. Camille and I will do a live Q&A where you can submit any questions that you have, about yourself and training, nutrition, equipment, logistics, anything. We'll help you out with some stuff and give you some answers, cutting, putting on muscle, cutting off body fat, whatever you have. My legs are still not back yet. Well, just that left one is not back yet. The right one feels okay, but the left one is not back yet. Good count.
Oh. One more.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right?
This is a high
Camille definitely went faster than I went. So even with a lighter band, the bench is probably higher for her than it is for me because she's shorter. And we'll go. Send it home. Last one, best one. This is where you make the gains. Get a big quad, big booty pump.
Thank you, bro. That butt while I get pregnant.
We're going to tone that butt up. For any girls out there that are like, how do I get rid of my cellulite? This is how you get rid of your
That's not
cellulite.
true. It's nutrition.
But mostly this though. Little nutrition.
It's mostly nutrition.
Mostly nutrition, but also this. I know because I battled for years with cellulite.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're a girl.
And it always affected my cycle. And
it's mostly estrogen for girl. That's why I have some cellulite like right now. Because of the baby. Extra hormones. Really is a lot nutrition dependent. Ooh, baby time.
Part of me wants to just say I finished. 10 more. 1. Oh shit. Wow. Give me a second. Holy shit balls. Alright. So the Instagram live ended and I'll share the story and then I'll come back here so I can start again. There you go. Going live. They're like, this hurts so bad. Oh, crikey. Crikey. All right. You can do it. Last leg.
Here we go, Dave.
Last one, best one. 30 reps and you're done, pal. Come on, 30 reps and you're done.
I don't think I'll do my next one.
You're going to see how it's fine.
Yeah, I'm getting busy. Too hungry.
Hey, why don't you talk to me a little bit?
Huh? Hey, I'm gonna entertain you while they do this. Let me know if you guys have some question. I'm gonna start answering question if you have any. But I am taking more one-on-one nutrition if you want some help with that. We have different stuff. It can be macros or foundation. Macros, we're going to weigh and measure. Foundation, we'll look at what you have right now and try to tweak it for you. And yeah, so we're doing that. We're almost done writing our total body reboot, which is going to be a meal plan, workout mindset. I'm very excited about that. Hopefully it's going to be done in 1 week or 2. We're working on giving you guys a daily workout. Right now for fitness is kind of pre-made plan, but we're working on a daily workout now, which is going to be awesome. We're going to have Furrow's strength. We're working on having a whole Furrow's bodybuilding.
Oh, goodness. Oh, it hurts.
Oh, and we're going to have another 30-day challenge starting the 2nd week of May. You can buy it yet, but you're gonna be able to register for it starting May 1st, and so that's gonna be super exciting. We had about 500 person doing our previous challenge, and everyone loved it. So I think a lot of them are gonna do that next one.
Oh.
Very excited about
Oh
it.
yeah.
All right, let me see.
Okay.
With macros, do you ever get to the point you don't have to
Listen
weigh
to this.
everything?
Cammy, bring the camera down a little, and we'll get the bench over, and we'll crank out some cues to the A. Oh shit. Cues to the A's.
Okay, so I have a question, and it's a really good one.
That's a good question.
Yeah. So someone is asking with the macro.
Oh shit.
If you guys have never done, macros, is you pretty much like weigh and measure everything, and macronutrients are what forms your calories. So it's protein, carbohydrate, and fat, and that way you know exactly how much you're putting in your body. So those are like very important data to know about yourself.
So it's how the calories are distributed.
Yes.
Across how much protein, fat, and carbs you're eating. Like Cammy uses an analogy like the bank account. How much money is going into savings or checking or long-term savings.
Yeah,
whatever.
that would be really with carbohydrate.
Yeah.
Right? So it's super important to know what you're putting in your body. So you should know the calorie that's going in, and you should also know what are those calories made of. So those are like protein, carbs, or fat, and that will dictate literally everything about your body composition.
So how about like just some basic
Wait,
idea?
let me answer the question
Okay.
first, okay? So a big thing is like you have to know that stuff, but something that's not, I guess, like one of the flip side of it is that you don't want to have to weigh and measure everything forever for the rest of your life. So creating good habits with knowing your macros, like I would say, do that for like maybe like a year or two even to really know what you're eating, and then you'll be able to start eyeballing and making good decision. And once your weight maybe starts to shift or go where you don't want it to go, then you just like come back to your macros, weigh and measure, kind of like tune back in like the amount of food you're putting in, because one tablespoon of peanut butter, weigh and measure, it gets bigger and bigger every time you don't measure it.
So, hey, here's just a common question people give us with regard to macros, which is how they might be distributed depending on your goals. So sorry, my camera's losing a lot of signal.
Yeah.
So, so for instance, if your goal was to say lose fat, you might manipulate your macronutrients so that you're eating a majority protein.
Yes.
And not as much carbohydrate, because carbohydrates signal a little bit more storage of nutrients in the body versus protein, which breaks down to amino acids, can help signal mobilization of energy. And percentage-wise, that might just look like going to 40% protein or higher.
Yeah, that's what we like to give a lot of our athletes. That definitely, especially if they want to lose weight fast.
If you guys on
higher
Instagram
protein
have a question,
and higher fat would be
below.
like definitely your way to go. So the thing about like higher protein, higher fat is that fat is going to bring satiety. So you're going to feel more full. Where at the opposite, if you reduce the fat and bump up your carbohydrate, you're going to be so hungry all the time because it's too quick to digest.
Yeah,
Great around training if you want to build muscle. So the goal would be to maybe be fasting or catabolic through the day. Only eat your carbs around training so you can maintain your muscle mass, which might be the question we get the most. Everyone wants to lean out and build mass, and those are so hard to do at once.
Yeah, it's not very realistic. If you're a highly trained athlete, the idea of cutting fat and putting on muscle is probably not based in reality. But if you are an untrained athlete, like if you're someone that hasn't been training for a while and you have a lot of body fat, it's totally possible to put on muscle. Yeah. Because your body hasn't adapted to strength training yet. So,
but you really need to know how to do it. That's the thing, and that's where we run a lot with people that get frustrated, because most of the people, they're like, I want to gain muscle, I want to get lean, and all they'll do is reduce their calorie intake, which you will lose weight, but that doesn't mean that weight that you're losing is only fat, because you have to have the right amount of protein, and the right timing with your nutrition around training to really build and maintain muscle mass, while the rest of your day should be focusing on really releasing those glucagon so you can go grab that extra fat or extra weight that you don't want.
Yeah.
And it becomes a lot about timing, a lot about really having the right macronutrient percentage. And it's more than just like calorie. And that's a big thing.
Yeah, and the other common question is, how do I put on muscle mass, which is really the opposite to gaining, losing fat, where you want to be anabolic, you want to be in a collective type of state where you're storing energy.
Yes.
So what that means first is that you're eating a caloric surplus, which is just eating more food than what's required to sustain your current weight, and making sure that you have enough protein in your diet to stimulate protein synthesis, or have what we call a positive nitrogen balance, which, there's some easy ways, but percentage wise, that might look like 40% carbs, 30% protein, and 30% fat. If you were going to bias one of those,
or even higher in protein and carbs and even lower in fat, because the fat is going to slow down your digestion.
Yeah, if you were going to bias one of those, you might push higher percentages towards carbohydrates and protein versus more in fat. For those reasons, just storage and protein synthesis is kind of more of a priority. And I think what Camille is saying is, like, once you start measuring and you understand what these meals look like, it's very easy to say, like, hey, I'm going to eat a cup of rice and 6 ounces of lean ground turkey breast and some spinach and 15 almonds. That becomes a habit.
You really start to understand what your plate should look like, which is like the most basic thing, right? It should be like mostly plants, a side of protein, and a sprinkle of fat and some like fruit or starch, and that's kind of it. So the more you're gonna weigh and measure, the more you're gonna see what like a real plate look like. And if you don't know what to eat, come check out Feroz. We have like a bunch of meal plans to just get you guys started. We also have nutrition one-on-one. I focus more on flexible eating, where like we try to do what you guys do in a daily life and really like tailor it so we can keep your same habit but give you guys better recipe and really teach you a lot. I'm all about education. Our staff is amazing. I have a biomedical engineer that her passion is nutrition. She has like 10 PhD and she's amazing. And my sister is an Olympic weightlifter. She's a rock star at cutting weight, at like really like taking you to exactly where you want to be. Also performance wise, she's a rock star. I'm all about like cutting, performance. And I think one of my biggest strengths, which is very unknown, is I am really good with older people. Right, I've done the diet for Dave's dad, for my parents. Like I really like working with those people. And we have another girl on staff, game athlete Cassidy, who has a whole nutrition degree background. She's like performance. She's like special, autoimmune stuff. She's really into pregnancy. So if you guys have like fertility and like especially pre-pregnancy need with your diet, like come check out Cassidy on my website. She's your go-to girl to go. I'm not there yet. I don't feel confident enough with my ability to help you guys there yet, which I'm working on. But not yet for me.
Yeah,
and Dave is all about.
We have different approaches to nutrition. I mean, I think we understand the same things, but my approach is, if somebody has a grand ambition like, hey, I want to lose body fat or I want to gain strength or size, I will give them exactly what they need to be able to do that as fast as possible with the most effect. The problem is,
we just have a different approach.
So when someone says, but I like eating this or I like eating that, my answer to that is,
don't eat it.
I don't care, because if your goal is to lose body fat, just eat this. And what I end up with is people that are either highly, highly successful or people that simply cannot complete the program.
And then he sent them to me,
and then I thought, hey, Camille, be nicer to you. If you want to lose 30 pounds in 9 weeks, come to me. But if you want something you're going to be more comfortable with, and you're not really willing to take the steps to weigh and measure your food or eat a really strict clean diet, Camille has a nice way to get you there more slowly to kind of ramp you up to that.
It's not more slowly. It's like I find loophole.
Yeah.
Loophole.
Exactly.
Like where like I teach you how to make brownies that are made with like egg white and zucchini, which are pretty much eating egg white and zucchini, but it tastes like a brownie type of deal. And I mean, let's just be honest, it's not as good as a real one, but it really like it's a good substitute. And that's just the difference.
The truth is, a nutrition program is only as good as your ability to complete it. You know?
Exactly.
So I end up with athletes that
but like
my program might just be too much for them.
Yeah.
Because that's where my expertise lies, is understanding how to get them there as fast as they can.
Like, for example, for me, I need something like super rigid, black and white. So I would be perfect for Dave.
Yep.
And as much as Dave liked to say that he likes something super rigid, black or white, when he was doing his cut, I started to make all his food because he needed those little sweet thing and little treat at night. But when I was training for the game, it was like black or white. There was no like healthy brownies or anything, because I knew for me, if I went off with just one healthy brownies, it was kind of game over. So it's funny how we're like both the best for each other.
Different, because I will literally suffer through a diet eating the most plain things, and Camille will sit there watching me suffer, saying, "Hey Dave, it doesn't need to be that hard. Eat these brownies." And the opposite, Camille will try to do her macros, and I'll be like, "Hey, don't eat that fucking Jolly Rancher.
But it fits."
Yeah, exactly. So it fits. I'm like, I don't care if it fits.
It's not the best thing when you're trying to win the CrossFit Games.
Yep.
But yeah, all right, let's do one more. That was a lot of nutrition talk, but we love.
I hope you guys enjoyed the workout.
Okay, so I have a pregnancy question, which is a really good one. So someone's asking me, how did I change my calorie through pregnancy? So a lot of different ways. First of all, I was sick for week 5 to 12, so 7 weeks.
Yes.
So 7 weeks I was super underfed. So when I started to eat again, I was almost 1,000 to sometimes 1,500 more calories than I used to eat, just to regain that weight, to make sure my baby had everything it needed. But so far, and I'm not a doctor, from what I've read.
Are you not a doctor?
I'm not a doctor, so this is not me. I'm not giving you an advice. I'm just saying what I read. So far, what I've read is about 300 calories more than what you're normally eating through the first and second trimester, and it goes up in the third trimester. I'm in my second one, so I don't know yet the third one. But in the third one, your baby is growing really fast.
Are you comfortable? How you're approaching 20 weeks? Are you comfortable telling people how much your weight has changed?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm happy to do
Cam
it.
Started at like.
Wait, why don't I say it?
Well, what was your starting point?
Okay, so I got pregnant. I was at 130. Okay. Then I got really, really sick, and I went down to 126. Okay. Which I haven't weighed 126
since you're in high school.
Since I was like 14 years old. Okay. I've always been muscular. So 14 years old, that's when it got really scary for me. That's when I was like, this is bad, and I would be dizzy all the time.
And what's your weight now?
And now I'm at 145, so I almost gained like 20 pounds from the lowest to now.
And the crazy thing is, like,
15 pounds from where I started.
You gained that weight, but like you gained it in all the right places.
You get my butt and my boobs.
Yeah, like it's awesome. Like you guys, husbands out there, get your wives pregnant, because
that's not how you feel when you're the one gaining the weight. But yeah, so I gained 15 pounds right now, and to be honest, like maybe the past 2 weeks is the past week is pretty much the first time that my weight didn't really move. But I got so sick for so long that I think my body freaked out and just.
Cam went through a period where she was just eating whatever she could that she could handle. Like
because I needed just dense calories.
And then she started being able to eat more regular, and now she's actually trying to eat more healthy, where she's eating salmon and avocado and some red meat because she could handle getting. I think that's why maybe her weight has stabilized a little bit, because she's not getting those huge sugar bumps every day.
And yeah, big thing I changed from like, before I would eat for performance, and now I'm eating to grow my baby. The protein has stayed the same, because I mean, remember, like we're made of protein. That's how your muscle and everything get made. So you definitely need the protein. But for again, from what I've read, I'm not a doctor, so this can be bad. But definitely don't want too much insulin spike, because research has shown that if you have a lot of insulin spike, when baby's going to come out, he's going to be more prone to have a sweet tooth and
Yeah.
go for like the insulin spike and maybe develop obesity
Yep.
more easily. So I'm really trying to stay away from that and eating a lot of good fat for brain development for the baby.
Okay.
So right now I'm a lot more in a high fat, high protein, and lower carb when I can. Don't get me wrong. I got a Pop-Tart last night because, you know,
Okay, here's a question.
I'm not perfect, but I definitely a lot of change nutrition-wise.
If the goal is to lose body fat, would you recommend 0 carbs at night for dinner or just low carb? So this is a good question because, and I'll put you guys
It
here.
really depends.
This is a good question because, whoop, lost it, and it's back.
I love this. We're talking about
Yeah.
nutrition, and we both, I don't think you guys understand. We're both such nerd in nutrition. We've tried almost every diet.
Well, I think we're good at,
We
at
really
listening
like
and
doing
using
it.
ourselves and as our own laboratory. What I've
Everything
seen,
is nutrition. That's the thing.
what I've seen with myself with Cam are just like the lots of athletes that I've seen go through maybe something like a prep where they're trying to lose body fat really
Or
hard.
performance,
Is that
okay?
everyone has different levels of carbohydrate
Yes.
sensitivity. So, for
Yes.
instance, when I do prep, I'm still eating 30 or 35% carbohydrates.
Most,
just at a deficit,
Yeah.
and I handle it fine, and I need it to maintain my muscle mass. Whereas I have a good friend,
most,
Benny,
yeah,
right?
Benny.
and he's
That's true.
very super muscular dude, but he's so carbohydrate sensitive that in prep he has to almost take his carbohydrates down to like 100 grams of carbs a day with like almost 300 grams of protein.
Yeah.
So that's contextual. The general idea is the carbohydrates are lower, and figuring out how low is really based on how you're responding.
Mhm.
So how you look, how you feel, how your weight is progressing.
Also goes with your hormones, because
Yep.
I think like that's one of the reasons why like most women we have to go way lower in carbohydrates than guys
Yep.
to really be able to get lean. And I think that might go with like her higher production of estrogen and like
And
that like
this-
hormonal
This question
balance
is
every
also
month.
about like timing. So like
Yes.
if you were going to be cutting and introducing where in the day should I put my carbohydrates, I recommend putting them around training. Because that's where you want to try to
So
have as much of an
Just so
anabolic
you
signal
guys
as you
know,
can.
the question is, if I want to lose body fat, should I put the carbohydrate at night or just have low carbs through
Yeah.
the day? And our answer to that is most likely you want to eat your carbs around training and kind of only then.
Yeah, so
That
for
would be like the
instance,
best place to
if
do
you
it.
train in the morning, put the carbs mostly around the training in the morning, and then go lower carbohydrate the rest of the day.
Yes.
If you train at 5 p.m. at night, put the carbohydrates as much as around that 5 p.m. session, but then keep them lower on the other half of
Yes.
the day. I think that's a good way to try to balance.
Because then you have your energy for your workout, you feel good, and then you can be in more of a fasting or glucagon type of release state for the rest of your day, which is going to be helping you to burn more fat than if you have a constant spike of insulin through your day. That might be a little harder, which is why intermittent fasting is so good.
So here's a question maybe you can answer, Cam.
Okay.
This question says, I went vegan 2 years ago and I do CrossFit. I'm trying to find a balance between my training and my eating. So I think,
Is there more to the question?
yeah, there is, but I don't know how to see it. I'm still trying to figure out how to see it. I'm
Okay.
not totally sure. But I'm guessing, I guess it sounds like a question about
More
caloric balance. Like, hey, if you're a vegan and you have like a high training volume, how do I get enough food to train or enough protein to train? I'm going to let Camille answer that one because I think she has more vegans in her diet program than I do.
Well, I think like the biggest thing for vegan is finding the right food, because you're so limited with like the choice of food that it gets really hard sometimes.
What types of protein do you recommend for vegans?
I mean, like protein powders are great, like so pea protein powder.
And I've been some vegans that are like, they don't do milk products either. So
So none
not
of that,
even
which is
whey.
really hard. So you want to find like a lot of the veggies that are like much higher in protein. So things like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, or
certain beans have
definitely
higher amounts
certain
of protein.
beans. But
the
what
pea
you need to be careful with is that almost all the protein for vegan also comes with carbohydrates.
Yeah.
So you really need to find like where the right balance is there. And if you are vegan, I think like my first thing for you would be put your food in a tracking app.
Yep.
So you can start to really learn about food and learn about the food that are much higher in protein, because your biggest challenge is going to get the right protein amount to sustain your muscle mass and also build muscle mass if you're looking for performance.
And so,
And
like, what about
even if
somebody
you're
who's
looking
like
for
a
lifestyle.
vegan is having a hard time like just getting enough calories? Like, it sounds like this person does CrossFit and they're trying to figure out.
Well,
the
there's,
balance of training and
calories,
eating.
they can still eat like fat and carbohydrates.
Yep.
So there's like a lot of, fat, like avocado and like peanut and all that stuff.
So
That's like,
things of more like caloric density.
yes.
might
So,
be a better
so
approach.
both things, right? As you track your food, you're going to start finding the food that are much higher in protein. So start putting a list at your
That
home
was a good question.
of like the food with a lot of protein, and also start to put a list of the food that are more nutrient dense if you're struggling to
You guys keep typing
get your
questions in the
carbs and
question
fats
box
and
below,
everything.
Camille and I will answer. What do you have, Cam? Let's do one more.
Okay, last one.
One more good one. I want a good one. I want a good question. I got a question that rocks the house. Maybe not a pregnancy one.
No, I know.
So, how much weight have you gained? Interesting updates.
Oh, this is a good one.
Yep.
She's so Victoria is asking what type of carbs around training. So she's saying as in oats, sweet potato, green veggies, and type of carbs for rest days.
You know, we really
I
screwed
think
this up because when we do this live, what we really should do is
As a question
Camille and I
first.
should do a split screen, so both of our communities can ask questions on these live, so we can go from one phone to
It's
the other.
okay.
But
I mean,
we'll
if
do
you
that.
have, like,
Maybe we'll do
four-
that tomorrow at the end.
Okay, so let's talk about carbs around training.
So this person's asking if I am going to put carbohydrates around training.
What should
type
it be?
of carbohydrates? Yeah, should it be like an orange?
It
should
should
be
be
an apple, a salad,
the-
like.
Easiest digestible carb that pretty much doesn't hurt your belly.
So what do you
And
like?
but that's the same thing we both take. But orange juice or white rice are my go-to, and I'll do that with some Himalayan salt.
Yep.
So I keep like all my electrolyte in as I'm working out, and those are easy digestible carbs, so I'm not digesting while I train.
Yeah, I mean, depending on your mass, like your muscle mass, and how active you are, I like to do 50 grams of carbs before the
Or
heavy lifting
dextrose,
session.
which is
And-
very intense. So most people should not really
So-
go there.
So for like I'm over 200 pounds by quite a bit. So I'll do 50 grams of carbohydrates before a heavy lifting session
Yeah.
and 50 grams after.
And
I
I'll
can
do
get
about
that
half of that.
from all different sources. Sometimes it'll be a meal where I'll have a cup of rice and some chicken. Sometimes I like doing a shake where I'll do a shake with whey protein, berries, and oatmeal. Sometimes it'll be orange juice and dextrose, depending on how full I want my stomach to be or not to be. But the idea is like 50 grams before and after. So obviously,
And if you're my weight, about 25.
yeah, it doesn't.
And
doesn't
depending
make
on,
sense.
it also depends on the intensity of your training.
And it doesn't make sense for those carbs to be from like fruits and vegetables because you'd have to eat so many fruits and vegetables to get that many carbohydrates.
And there's a lot of fiber in
And
it.
that breaks
which
down
is-
really slowly. Yeah.
Yes, which is a lot harder to digest. So you kind of want an easy, quick source of carb. But again, at the end of the day, whatever likes you.
Yep.
So so that's what we say. You
Well,
might
here's-
like a food, but that food might not like you. So maybe, you're home and you do white rice, and for some reason for you that's hard to digest, and you're burping the whole time. That is not a good option for you.
Here's something interesting. Camille and I are friends with a guy named Joel Thomas, who's an IFBB professional bodybuilder, and he competes at the Olympia stage level. And he walks around all year really lean and incredibly muscular. And every meal he eats is very, very strict. I mean, we were with him for a couple days just eating, and every meal is so calculated. But before our training sessions, Joel would eat a chocolate chip muffin. And I'm kind of like, well, I'll do whatever Joel does. Like, I'm on the chocolate chip muffin.
That's what we
train,
do. We see
right?
someone better
But-
than us, and we're like, we'll try that. We'll try what you do.
But the
which
point
is
is, like,
another good thing to do.
He's not eating the muffin to eat the muffin. He's
Yeah,
doing
there's an
everything.
intention
Yeah,
behind,
everything
yes.
is on purpose with purpose. He's eating the muffin because he knows he's going to get what he needs to to perform his best in a
Yes.
session, to get the muscles to grow, muffin before, muffin and a protein
I mean,
shake
I was
after, and then it's
eating-
strict again.
I was eating a Snicker during like
Actually, I think
event.
it was 2 muffins before. It was 2
Yeah.
muffins, Joel.
And then he started to eat muffin at the house nonstop, and I was like, "What are you doing?"
I don't know, Joel with a muffin
that's,
plan.
yeah, that's the thing you need to be careful of. Because, for example, at the cross game, we had this event. We had like 1 minute between, I think, the 2 workouts or something like that.
I gave you a sugar drink.
No. I had a Snicker
Oh,
on the
that's
field.
right. Yeah, Snickers
And
is
I
probably a bad
literally,
idea.
yeah, that was not the
Too
best.
much fat, man. That's a
Whatever.
problem.
But it was just like trying to find that quick sugar. And now when I compete, obviously performance is different than just trying to be at the CrossFit game. The rule are not the same.
Well,
It's
in
a
that
lot more
scenario
straight
too,
sugar.
it's not even it's really survival. It's
Exactly.
like, okay,
It's a little bit different.
the processes in your body that over the course of that competition,
But
your glycogen levels
Let
in
me
your muscle deplete so much that you need to stay in that surplus however you can with
Yeah.
whatever you can get down. So that's not the healthy
so
lifestyle.
for that,
thing.
I mean, coming back to the carbohydrate question, I think like one of the big thing is you don't need as much as you think. I think like a lot of people, they'll go in a workout with this huge like sugary, like, I don't want to say any brand, but like, and they'll just like pound that before and after, and then they end up taking like 100 grams of carbs. You don't need that. If you're about Dave's size, 50 before and after is good. If you're my size, depending on the intensity, 15 to 25 gram before and after is good. And that is it. You really don't need more than this. You just need that little spike of insulin that brings energy in your bloodstream, and then the little spike after, so you can like really help like heal your muscle and build up muscle mass.
Yeah, and I can tell you just in the experience of doing a handful of shows in the preparatory phase where you're cutting body fat, if I wasn't craving carbohydrates throughout the day, something was probably wrong with my diet, right? Something probably wasn't right. I shouldn't be like, oh, I feel great, I don't even want carbs, because that's my body saying, you're good, dude, nothing's got to change. But it's that adaptation process where it's just the right level of uncomfortable, where at the end of the night, getting that rice cake with a little bit of nut butter and like an egg white muffin smashed on it was like the best thing in the world to me. If I didn't crave that at the end of the night, I was probably getting too many carbs to actually make my body adapt. So
Which
it's
is what-
okay
yeah.
to crave that stuff.
All right, this is it. I have
Yeah.
literally a meeting with my nutrition
I'll
coach
continue
coming
with
up,
you
so I gotta go because we're doing some catch-up education right now. But thank you so much,
Thank you,
much
Cammy.
for guys
Our
for
athletes love that.
joining us. If you have more questions, send me
Walk outside, get some sun.
some